The heat in Phoenix doesn't just touch your skin. It presses. It suffocates. It makes the air feel thick enough to chew. But the sweat running down my spine wasn't from the sun. It was cold. I stood in my own driveway staring at a black SUV parked where my car should have been. And there was a man in my doorway. A stranger. Holding a piece of paper that looked terrifyingly official. He wasn't angry. He wasn't defensive. He looked confused. "Can I help you?" he asked. As if I were trespassing. I pointed at the house. "That's my home." My voice didn't sound like mine. It sounded far away. Like it belonged to someone already losing something. He looked down at the document in his hand. Then back at me. "Not anymore," he said quietly. "I closed 10 days ago. I have the deed." 10 days. I had been in Tokyo presenting a fraud case to a room full of executives. While someone was selling my house. He turned the paper so I could see it. Warranty deed. County stamp. Notary seal. And at the bottom. My name. My signature. Perfect. Elegant. Forged. For a second, the world didn't tilt. It stopped. My brother didn't borrow my house while I was gone. He didn't look after it. He didn't rent it. He sold it. And the worst part? He believed he had every right to. I didn't scream. I didn't push past the buyer. He wasn't the villain. He was just the weapon. He handed me a small scrap of paper. "They moved your stuff," he said awkwardly. "Storage unit on the edge of town." I got back in my rental car. Turned the AC on full blast. It didn't touch the heat rising inside my chest. I drove 20 minutes through dust and strip malls until the city thinned into metal boxes baking under the desert sun. When I rolled the door open, the air hit me like an oven. Not warm. Boiling. 120 degrees. My leather couch was ripped down one side. The television was gone. But the real damage was stacked in the corner. A box labeled, "Grandma." I opened it. The photo album had melted. The plastic sleeves fused together. When I tried to peel them apart, the ink came off with the film. My grandmother's wedding. My childhood birthday. Proof that I had once been a loved little girl. Smears. Distorted color. Gone. They didn't just steal my house. They erased my past to save $50 a month on climate control. And that was the moment the daughter in me died. I didn't cry. I closed the storage door. Sat on the hood of my rental car. Opened my laptop. Because my family thought I worked with numbers. They bragged about that part. They never bothered to ask what I actually did. My name is Sabrina. And I don't balance books. I dissect financial crime for the federal government. And my brother had just left fingerprints everywhere. He thought he stole my house. What he really did was give me jurisdiction. And I hadn't even started digging yet. If he thought selling my house was the worst thing he'd done, he had no idea what I was about to uncover. People think betrayal feels loud. It doesn't. It feels surgical. Precise. Like someone studied your blind spots before they cut. I didn't drive to a hotel that night. I drove to my parents' house. The same beige stucco box with the cracked driveway. The same wind chimes my mother refused to replace. The same porch light that flickered like it was tired of pretending. My brother's truck was parked outside. Of course it was. He opened the door before I knocked. He looked annoyed. Not guilty. Not ashamed. Annoyed. "You're back early," he said. Early. As if I'd returned from vacation instead of from being erased. "I saw the deed," I said. He didn't even flinch. "You weren't using the place," he shrugged. "It was just sitting there. It was my house." "It was an asset," he corrected. Asset. The word hit harder than the heat. Behind him, my mother appeared. Arms folded. Defensive before I'd even spoken. "You're never here, Sabrina," she said softly. "Family helps family. Helps." I stared at her. I leaned back in my chair, the desert night humming outside the window. People think revenge is loud. But real justice? It's quiet. It's patient. It waits. And as I traced the first transaction from the sale proceeds, something else appeared. Multiple deposits. Structured amounts. Shell accounts. This wasn't about my house. My brother hadn't just committed fraud. He'd been laundering money. Through my property. Using my name. And if my name was attached. So was my clearance. And that meant one thing. He hadn't just betrayed his sister. He'd endangered a federal investigator. I closed my laptop slowly. Because this was no longer personal. This was jurisdictional. And when I stepped into that arena, I never stepped out empty-handed. He thought he took my house. He didn't realize he just opened an investigation with my full attention. I didn't sleep. Not because I was angry. Because I was calculating. Anger burns fast. Calculation lasts. By sunrise, I had a timeline. Sale date. Wire transfer. Escrow release. The buyer was clean. Verified income. Standard mortgage. He wasn't part of this. But the money trail. That was messy. The sale proceeds hadn't gone into my brother's personal account. They'd been split. Layered. $48,000. $32,000. $19,500. Structured deliberately under reporting thresholds. Not random. Trained. Someone had taught him that. Or he had learned it somewhere he shouldn't have been. I traced one of the shell accounts. LLC registered 6 months ago. No real business activity. No payroll. No physical office. But it shared something interesting. The same registered agent as my cousin's construction company. Family. It always circled back to family. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the screen. If this was just about my house, the money would have gone straight to paying debts. Credit cards. Truck loan. Mortgage arrears. Instead, it was moving. Hopping. Disappearing and reappearing in different forms. That's not panic spending. That's concealment. And concealment means there's something bigger to hide. I requested internal database access under pretext. Quietly. Professionally. No names yet. Just numbers. Within an hour, a match came back. The LLC had received deposits from 3 other properties in the past year. 3. All transferred under questionable powers of attorney. All elderly owners. 2 currently in assisted living. 1 deceased. My stomach didn't drop. It hardened. This wasn't desperation. It was a system. He hadn't just forged my signature. He had practiced. On people less likely to fight back. And suddenly, my melted photo album felt different. That wasn't carelessness. It was habit. When you dehumanize strangers long enough, you forget how to treat your own sister like one. My phone buzzed. A message from my brother. You done being dramatic? Dramatic. I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I typed back one sentence. Send me the notary's full name. He didn't reply. Of course he didn't. Because he knew. He knew I wasn't emotional. I was collecting. By noon, I had the notary's commission pulled. Expired 8 months ago. The stamp on my power of attorney? Issued last week. Counterfeit. Interstate document fraud. Identity theft. Wire fraud. Money laundering. Each charge stacking like bricks. I could have called him. Warned him. Threatened him. Demanded he unwind the sale. But here's what people misunderstand about justice. If you give someone time to prepare, they erase evidence. So I did nothing. Publicly. Privately? I opened a case file. Not under my family's name. Under the LLC. Because investigations don't start with emotion. They start with structure. By late afternoon, I had enough for probable cause review. But something kept bothering me. The deposits were too clean. Too precise. Which meant someone was advising him. Someone who understood thresholds. Reporting requirements. Audit triggers. My brother barely passed high school math. He didn't design this. He executed it. And when I traced one more transaction, a consulting payment, $12,000, to a financial advisor in Scottsdale. That name, I recognized. I had investigated him 3 years ago. We never secured enough for indictment. But now he was tied to my brother. Which meant this wasn't just family betrayal. This was organized. And if my brother had stepped into that world, he wasn't just a thief. He was a participant. I closed my laptop again. The desert sky outside was turning orange. Beautiful. Deceptive. Like most things that look calm from a distance. My phone buzzed one more time. This time from my mother. You're tearing this family apart. I didn't answer. Because families tear themselves apart when they confuse love with ownership. And my brother had made a fatal mistake. He thought I would protect him. But I don't protect criminals. Not even when we share blood. And tomorrow morning, I was going to make the first official call. He believed I would choose family over law. He forgot I chose law long before he chose greed. The first call I made wasn't emotional. It was procedural. Internal Affairs Liaison. Financial Crimes Division. Conflict Disclosure. I recused myself formally. On paper, I had no involvement. Unofficially, every document I'd gathered had already been reviewed by someone who owed me a favor from a case in Chicago. By 9:17 a.m., the wheels were turning. By 11:42 a.m., they were rolling. I didn't go to my brother's house. I didn't need to. I was sitting across town in a glass office building, pretending to review compliance summaries when my phone vibrated once. Just once. A message from an unknown number. They're here. I didn't ask who. I knew. 2 agents. 1 local detective. 1 uniformed officer. Standard approach for financial warrants tied to property fraud. They wouldn't kick the door in. They'd knock. Calm. Professional. Measured. The way justice prefers to introduce itself. Later, I would read the report. You could have handled this privately. I typed back. He committed crimes publicly. I turned my phone off after that. Because this wasn't a family discussion anymore. It was a federal matter. And federal matters don't get swept under rugs. They get documented. Documented thoroughly. But as I reviewed the preliminary asset freeze list, one detail made my breath pause. A pending transaction. Large. International. Scheduled for tomorrow morning. Money my brother hadn't yet moved. Money tied to an offshore account. If that transfer went through, it would complicate everything. And someone had authorized it after the warrant was issued. Which meant someone inside the network knew we were coming. And they were trying to run. My brother wasn't the only one in danger now. Someone bigger had just decided not to go down alone. The offshore transfer was set for 8 a.m. Cayman routing. Layered through 2 intermediary banks. Clean enough to pass. Dirty enough to matter. But someone panicked. Because once a warrant hits, word spreads. And panic makes people sloppy. The authorization timestamp? 11:58 a.m. 16 minutes after agents knocked on my brother's door. He didn't send it. His electronics were already seized. Which meant only one thing. The advisor. The man in Scottsdale. The one who taught my brother how to stay under reporting thresholds. How to split deposits. How to borrow identities. He wasn't protecting my brother. He was protecting himself. I requested an emergency freeze. The paperwork moved fast. Financial crimes divisions don't like international leaks. At 7:53 a.m., the transfer was halted. 7 minutes before it disappeared. 7 minutes before the last safety net was gone. By noon, the advisor's office had been searched. And this time, they found what we didn't 3 years ago. Encrypted drives. Client lists. Property transfers. Elderly owners. Vacation properties. Military families deployed overseas. Patterns. My brother wasn't the architect. He was recruitment. Family members are easy entry points. Trust is the cheapest access code in the world. When they brought him in for questioning, he didn't ask for me. He asked for a lawyer. Smart. Too late, but smart. The advisor, however, he asked if I was involved. That's how I knew he remembered me. 3 years ago, he'd smiled across a conference table and told me, "You can't prove intent." Now I didn't have to. Intent was digitized. Timestamped. Backed up in cloud servers he forgot to wipe. By the end of the week, the story broke publicly. Multi-state property fraud ring exposed. They didn't print my name. They never do. But my brother's name was there. Front page. My mother stopped calling. My father left one voicemail. Heavy breathing. No words. And then silence. The buyer of my house? He was protected. Title insurance activated. Transaction voided due to fraud. The property reverted back to me. But I didn't go back. Not yet. Because walking into that house would have felt like walking into a grave. Instead, I visited the storage unit one more time. The melted album was still there. Ruined. I didn't try to peel the pages apart again. Some things don't restore. They teach. The advisor was denied bail. Too much risk. Too many offshore ties. My brother made bail. House arrest. Electronic monitor. He called once more. This time I answered. Why? He asked. Not angry now. Just hollow. You didn't just steal my house, I said calmly. You stole from people who couldn't defend themselves. Silence. Then. I thought you'd protect me. There it was. The belief. The entitlement. The assumption that blood outranks law. I protect victims, I said. And I hung up. But here's the part he didn't know. The part no one did. When I froze the offshore account, I saw something else. A list of pending acquisitions. Properties not yet transferred. One of them. My parents' house. Signed draft. Prepared deed. Power of attorney template ready. He was going to take theirs too. When the money dried up. And that realization didn't hurt. It clarified. Because they thought I destroyed the family. They never realized. I saved them from him. But the trial was still coming. And when testimony begins, truth doesn't just surface. It detonates. And my brother still didn't understand what evidence I had saved for the courtroom. He thought the worst was the arrest. He had no idea what was waiting under oath. Courtrooms are colder than people expect. Not in temperature. In atmosphere. There's no yelling. No dramatic music. No cinematic justice. Just wood panels. Fluorescent lights. And truth measured in exhibits. I took the stand on the third day. Not as a sister. As a forensic financial analyst. I didn't look at my brother when I walked past him. He looked smaller. Not physically. Structurally. Like someone who finally understood the ceiling was real. The prosecutor started simply. Can you explain to the jury how the defendant structured the deposits? I didn't use emotion. I used charts. Timelines. Transfer patterns. Digital signatures. I explained reporting thresholds. How splitting funds signals intent. How counterfeit notary stamps violate federal statute. The jury watched the screen. Not me. Because numbers don't cry. They convict. Then came the offshore transfer. The halted transaction. The timestamp. The advisor's authorization after the warrant was issued. Intent. Coordination. Conspiracy. My brother's attorney tried to soften it. He believed he had power of attorney, correct? I looked at him calmly. The document was fabricated using a template recovered from his laptop. No tremor. No hesitation. Just fact. Then the prosecutor introduced the draft deed. The one prepared for my parents' house. Gasps are rare in courtrooms. But that one was real. My mother was in the second row. She turned toward him slowly. And, for the first time, he looked ashamed. Not because of me. Because they finally saw him. The illusion broke publicly. That's the part that hurts people like him most. Exposure. By the end of the week, the verdict came back. Guilty on all major counts. Wire fraud. Forgery. Money laundering. Conspiracy. The advisor received a longer sentence. Prior investigations matter. Patterns matter. My brother received less time. First major conviction. Cooperation agreement. But prison time nonetheless. When the judge asked if I wished to make a victim impact statement, I stood. Not because I needed to speak, but because silence would have felt incomplete. I lost property, I said steadily. But more than that, I lost the belief that trust is automatic. I hope he uses this time to understand that trust is earned. That was all. No theatrics. No revenge speech. Justice doesn't need performance. Months later, I returned to my house. The buyer had moved out after the reversal. The locks had been changed. The walls still smelled faintly of someone else's cologne. I walked through each room slowly. Not reclaiming. Assessing. In the living room, I placed a single framed photo. One that had been digitized years ago and survived. My grandmother's wedding. Restored. Not because the past can't be damaged, but because it can't be erased either. My parents and I don't speak much now. Not hostile. Just distant. They understand something they didn't before. Love without accountability rots. I didn't destroy my family. I removed the protection they were hiding behind. And here's the truth no one admits about betrayal. It doesn't ruin you. It reveals you. My brother thought I would choose blood over law. He forgot something important. I didn't build my career to protect strangers. I built it so no one, not even family, could use trust as a weapon again. And if there's one thing I've learned in Phoenix Heat, paper burns. But evidence? Evidence endures. That's the part that hurts people like him most. Exposure. By the end of the week, the verdict came back. Guilty on all major counts. Wire fraud, forgery, money laundering, conspiracy. The advisor received a longer sentence. Prior investigations matter. Patterns matter. My brother received less time. First major conviction. Cooperation agreement. But prison time nonetheless. When the judge asked if I wished to make a victim impact statement, I stood. Not because I needed to speak, but because silence would have felt incomplete. I lost property, I said steadily. But more than that, I lost the belief that trust is automatic. I hope he uses this time to understand that trust is earned. That was all. No theatrics. No revenge speech. Justice doesn't need performance. Months later, I returned to my house. The buyer had moved out after the reversal. The locks had been changed. The walls still smelled faintly of someone else's cologne. I walked through each room slowly. Not reclaiming. Assessing. In the living room, I placed a single framed photo. One that had been digitized years ago and survived. My grandmother's wedding. Restored. Not because the past can't be damaged, but because it can't be erased either. My parents and I don't speak much now. Not hostile. Just distant. They understand something they didn't before. Love without accountability rots. I didn't destroy my family. I removed the protection they were hiding behind. And here's the truth no one admits about betrayal. It doesn't ruin you. It reveals you. My brother thought I would choose blood over law. He forgot something important. I didn't build my career to protect strangers. I built it so no one, not even family, could use trust as a weapon again. And if there's one thing I've learned in Phoenix Heat, paper burns. But evidence? Evidence endures.